Today on Exploring Scotland's History, we're taking a trip on the paddle steamer Waverley. The PS Waverley is a truly unique vessel. She is the only sea-going paddle steamer in the world. The predecessor of the ship we sail on today was built in 1899 by Inglis of Glasgow. She served in both World Wars but was sunk on the 29th of May 1940 during the Dunkirk evacuation. This Waverley is the 16th Clyde-built vessel to be named after Sir Walter Scott's first novel. Also built by Inglis, this one began her service on the 16th of June 1947. As holiday habits changed, Calmac pulled her from service in 1973 as they felt she was too costly to run and repair. She was sold to Paddle Steamer Preservation Society for £1. In the early 2000s, a successful public funding appeal and a donation from the Heritage Lottery Fund ensured new boilers, an upgrade of safety standards and a return to her 1947 livery. In 2011, Waverley was awarded the Institution of Mechanical Engineers 65th Engineering Heritage Award. Waverley's paddle wheels cannot turn independently of each other, so her turning circle is bigger than larger modern ships. The Waverley can be spotted in Guy Ritchie's 2011 blockbuster Sherlock Holmes: Game of Shadows. So, where was this historic ship going to take us? Interestingly, a similar route that the King George V turbine steamer would have taken nearly every year from 1935 to 1974. We will leave Oban, up the Sound of Mull to Tobermory, and then head out towards Staffa and the Treshnish Isles before returning home. Incidentally, the KG5, as she was known locally, also took part in the same Dunkirk evacuation as the original PS Waverley. The KG5 successfully landed 4,300 men back to Dover. So now we know the route, we're steaming out of Oban. The myriad of historic sites I mentioned is not exhaustive. There were many more to keep everyone amused the length of the journey. These are just a few that I particularly enjoyed or was intrigued by. The first imposing sight we viewed was Donnelly Castle. The annals of Ulster record Donnelly from 686, in the times of the Kingdom of Dalriada. The stronghold was razed to the ground several times. The remains we see today date largely from the 15th century, a traditional MacDougall seat. In no time at all, the Isle of Mull loomed into view, and our first glimpse of the Sir William Black Memorial Lighthouse, also known as Stewart Point Lighthouse. It was the favourite spot of William, a renowned novelist, who lives from 1841 to 1898. This Gothic granite tower stands beside Stewart Castle. We all agree that Stewart looks much more impenetrable and imposing from sea than land, which clearly means it served its purpose well. Though traditionally thought of as a MacLean castle, they probably acquired it a century after the MacDougalls had built it, likely a dowry, when the chief Lachlan MacLean took Mary MacDonald as his wife, the daughter of the Lord of the Isles. Stewart Castle was left to ruin in the late 1600, early 1700 period, until Sir Fitzroy MacLean, 26th chief, purchased it in 1910 and began the mammoth task of repair. A stunning sight, and one we will visit on our next trip to the Isle of Mull. Now we round on Torsey Castle. It was completed in 1858 by the architect David Bryce, who was known for his Scottish baronial style. His other works include Fettes College and the Bank of Scotland building on the Mound in Edinburgh. The Campbells originally called it Duart House. John Campbell developed the estate until he suffered financially by the collapse of the price of sugar in 1865. Torresey currently isn't open to the public. As we head up the Sound of Mull, we see Cab Island. Cab Island is an unfortunate symbol of depopulation. In 1934, a kayak expedition noted a large extended family farming the island. On a return visit by others in 2018, notably historian David Grange, they were disappointed to find it had no population and minimal agricultural activity. He felt it showed a fragility and lack of resilience in the current attempts at repopulation. On a lighter note, Tobermory appeared ahead. Made famous more recently by the children's show Balamory, the Waverley even features in it. I'll put a link at the end to a visit I made to Tobermory. On rounding back out of Tobermory, we came across Rúthnan Gal Lighthouse. Its name translates to Stranger's Point. Built in 1857 by David and Thomas Stevenson, it was fully automated in 1960. The keeper's cottages are a holiday let, accessed only by the sea or a 2-kilometre walk from Tobermory. They have no mains electricity or water. The cottages rely on a spring and solar power. Another Scots baronial pile now looms, Glengorm Castle. Built in 1860 for James Forsyth of Quinish by Kinnear and Petty. Forsyth thought the air had an unusual colour, so he named his house Glengorm, Blue Glen. The air was apparently blue from the burning of houses, clearances to make way for his pile. Local tales say one of the crofters apparently cursed Forsyth that he would never spend a night in his new home. He died in a riding accident before Glengorm was ever completed. Mull boasts the youngest and oldest recorded rock, and the layering and formations we saw were worth the trip alone. As we headed out towards the Treshnish Isles, the geology is no less fascinating. The amount of caves worn into the rock by erosion are many, and I feel many would have served as shelters and maybe hiding places over the course of history. The most northerly of the Treshnish is Flada. Its name comes from the Old Norse meaning flat island. The Royal Commission on the Ancient and Historical Monuments of Scotland recorded it as a possible early Christian site and burial ground. Langa was inhabited until the 19th century, and from the sea we can still view the remains of the sturdy black houses. Now a hub of activity for bird colonies, Langa has many native endangered plants too. Its name comes from the Old Norse meaning Isle of the Longships. Cairnabara Beg and Cairnabara Morg both have castle ruins. They have the ruins of Cairnborough Castle, unusually straddling both islands. There currently is ongoing research, but it is thought that the castle may have begun its existence as a Viking fortress. Cairnborough was also used in 1715 and 1745 to house government troops in the times of the Jacobite risings. All those on board enjoyed a first for the Waverley, a close-up run round Backmoor, something the King George V that we discussed earlier would not attempt. The island is often referred to as the Dutchman's Cap due to its unusual shape. It has remains of summer ceilings, suggesting that even it was inhabited at one stage. The Treshnish Isles have been declared a site of special scientific interest due to the many bird colonies including kittiwake, storm petrel, guillemot and of course puffin. Many seals can be spotted here too. There are also endangered native plants including orchids. And now, as we look beyond the Treshnish, we can just make out Iona Abbey. I'll leave a link at the end of the video I made on a visit to this spiritual place. We will now turn our attention to Staffa. The tertiary basalt columns are familiar to me as I live close to the Giant's Causeway on the north coast of Ireland. The columns were formed by rapid cooling and flooding of volcanic lava. In fact, Staffa comes from the Old Norse meaning stave or pillar island. Sir Joseph Banks, an English patron of the natural sciences, gave Fingal's Cave its name in the 18th century after a visit. It's named after a 3rd century Irish warrior, Finn MacCool. Felix Mendelssohn also visited Staffa. It said it inspired him to write the Hebrides Overture, though others claimed Dunolly Castle at sunset was his inspiration too. Next to Fingal's Cave is McKinnon's Cave, named after a 15th century abbot of Iona. The white streaks we see on the cliff are damage caused by a mine that exploded in 1945. We also view the pyramid-shaped rock islet of the Herdsman. Staffa is under the same scientific protection as the Treshnish Isles. On our return journey, we have ample time to view Ardnamurchan, which boasts the most westerly point of the mainland UK. We then catch a glimpse of Mingari Castle, built in the 14th or 15th century by either the MacDougals again or possibly the MacDonalds of Ardnamurchan. It's had various inhabitants of note: James IV, Clan Campbell and Alistair McCullough. The TV show Wreck Detectives uncovered a wreck directly below the castle which has been dated to 1644. As we cross onto the Morvern coastline, St Columba's Chapel stands out from the surrounding greenery. Built on and incorporating a castle ruin in 1837, it was a statement of Catholicism in an area largely inhabited by Protestants. We have a trip to Morvern planned for the future. We now pass Lady's Rock, and it has a tragic tale attached. Lachlan MacLean of Duart decided to murder his wife, Lady Campbell, sister of the 4th Duke of Argyll. He had abandoned her on this very rock to die. The next day, there was no sign of her. He sent his condolences to Argyll and said he would bring his wife for burial. On bringing the coffin to the Argylls, he entered the dining room, and his wife was sitting at the head of the table, having been rescued. Some tales say that fishermen had rescued her, others say that her family had come out to rescue her. Lachlan MacLean, however, was allowed to escape, though he would be murdered in his bed at a later date in Edinburgh by Sir John Campbell of Calder, another one of Lady Campbell's brothers. Oban is looming, but we take a moment to appreciate the architectural splendour of Lismore Lighthouse. The lighthouse stands on a small island off the main island. Designed by Robert Stevenson, it took 3 years to build at a cost of £4,250. It was first lit in 1833. And so, we make our way back to Oban, exhausted and windswept. We have made memories and a few newly forged friendships. I have added another list of sites I want to visit on land. If you can sail on the PS Waverley, take the opportunity. The vessel is beautifully and sympathetically restored, and you will feel you're part of history even before you look out to all the history around you. The vessel is comfortable with plenty of facilities, the staff are knowledgeable and passionate, and it's dog friendly. What's not to like? I'm tired out now. Until next time, thank you for watching Exploring Scotland's History.